welcome to squats on Workout Wednesday. What I want to show you is a young person doing squats. Now, although she goes onto her toes, everything else is really good. So because she goes onto her toes, therefore she falls forward. What we look at when we're analysing squat, from the front, the side and the back, we're looking at your anterior, your lateral and your posterior position. So that your knees, your hips and your toes are in line, that your back is at the same angle as your shin, and that you're square when we're looking at your back, that your calves and your ankles are in line, that your hips are in line. So then we do an assessment like this. As you can see here, the client's getting a little bit stuck and can't go any
Up and
deeper.
down,
So that's very different to
and then
what we
try and
showed
send your
you
bum
in the
further back.
first
So sit down.
instance,
No.
where
You've
the
gone
young
knees forward,
person
bum
is
back.
able to squat
That's
all
it.
the way
Keep going,
down,
keep going, keep going.
where the bottom,
Bum back,
and as I would
bum
call it,
back.
is ass to grass. So from a technique point of view, if you look at this, apart from going up onto the toes, it's a really good low squat. The back stays in line with the shins. Now this is one of my favourite pictures all time. I've stole it off the internet. It's not a child of mine, but if you look, the weights on the heels, they're flat-footed. The feet are hip width apart. The hips are way below the knee. They've got good back position. The back position and the shin position is in a good angle. The shoulders are back. The head's in the air. They're looking straight forward. Chest's up, not feeling forward. What an amazing position for a child to be in. And they start like that. And that's what we're asking you to do. But we realise as time goes on, we sit on chairs more, we don't move around quite as much in the same way as we did when we were children, and therefore we develop problems like these. What we get here is we get a low arch in the back or a round from like the hip. We're not quite sure how we bend our knees. Sometimes we push our knees too far forward, or we lean forward because we can't squat any lower. So we've got an excessive forward lean. That's normally a case that we've tightened up the shin a little bit, or our arms fall forward. Now if our arms fall forward, it is normally that our back is tight. So all of these have consequences that we can help try and fix. Then if we look at it from behind, we can look at other problems that we see. You can see the first one, the feet are flattened, so they've kind of rolled in a little bit. Therefore, we're creating a very different angle at where the knee becomes. So we're driving inwards at the knee. We definitely don't want that. Sometimes our heels rise off the floor. That's due to having possibly a tight Achilles tendon or tight calves. And then the other one shows a angle of the hips that is different. So we've got a weight shift possibly to one side of the leg or the other. Now that one puts a lot of pressure into our lower back. All of these are correctable, and it's how we look to fix them and coach them in the gym. If we look from a forward point of view, you can see the knees coming in. This is very common in women, more from the Q angle of the hips. From the women giving birth, they have a wider hip and therefore the knee falls in. But also the feet flattening can cause this issue. We sometimes ask people to turn the feet out. We want them square, but sometimes turning the feet out is definitely better than turning the feet in. If the feet are flat, we quite often see then the following one, that the knees move inwards. And then if we've got our feet out too much, the knees move outwards. You will quite often hear me say, drive your knees out or squeeze your knees out. That isn't so you end up in that position, but it's so you generate more tension at the glutes, and therefore the glutes fire, which enable your squat or your deadlift to improve. It works on both. So what we've got here is another youngster squatting. So what can you see? We're not going quite as deep as I'd like. And right towards the end, the squat becomes a slight lean forward. So we need to hold our core in better positions, and we need to work on core stability and understanding where the barbell is moving and not allowing your body to compensate for that movement. If you find you are struggling, sometimes we introduce a box squat. So here we've got two methodologies that we can help you with. We've got a safety bar, so we're not putting your back in as much tension. That means you need to stretch your back, but the hands are now at the front of the safety bar, and we put a box for you to squat on. So we're giving you a target for your bum to hit, and we're going down just above 90 degrees to get you that you're firing your bum back and your knees are not driving forward. We've now got Fee demoing a pretty good back squat. This is pushing her limits. It's pretty strong. What we see here is a little bit of a wiggle on the way back up. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is just her working towards her bigger loads. So Fee squatted 170, I think 180 for one rep. It's pretty big going. It's just to give you an idea of what is possible through the movement quality and how we do it. And then in the same squat cage, you've got me demonstrating a front squat. Now, you can't see my legs sadly here, but what I'm doing is I'm holding the bar on the front of my body rather than the posterior of my body. So it's on the anterior. I've got my shoulders where the bar's resting. I'm trying to keep my elbows up. Now, on the way up, you see my elbows drop a bit. They should be a little bit higher. So there, my triceps are parallel to the floor. On this way up, they drop a bit and then they come up. So all I'm doing is loading my quads more. It's a different variation of the squat, what we can try and work with people. Sometimes when you use the safety bar pushes it to more of a front squat. So after showing you that fix from the safety bar earlier, I wanted to show you a front squat here as well. All different variations of the squat. So coaching squat points, feet hip width apart and your toes are pointing forward. When you first move, your hips need to go backwards. So what I want you to think about there is that you're sitting onto a chair. If you push your knees forwards, you're going to nearly miss the chair. So hips need to go backwards. We're sitting onto a chair. If you get that movement right, the weight that will then transfer towards the heels. So the weight is on your rear foot. That gives you more balance, okay? We then look at the back and knee angle being the same. Then if your flexibility is good, you're going to get that ass to grass. So we're going to get all the way down there. And being down there is pretty comfortable. You should be able to stay there for a fairly long time. Flat on your feet, head up, chest up, like the baby picture we showed you at the start. As you push up, you are contracting your glutes. If you squeeze your knees out a little bit, that's fine. But as we're driving up through our heels, we push through our heels, so we're driving up straight. We also want you to think about driving your shoulders at this point straight towards the ceiling, so that chest is staying upright. It doesn't get a chance to lean forward. We're driving it up towards the ceiling. Then just to touch on breathing, as the weight gets heavier, we need to be making sure we're doing this with a coach. You need to take a big inhale before you start your squat. You brace your core with these airbags. Your lungs are full like airbags. You brace your core full, and that puts your spine and core under a bit of torsion and tension. Therefore, when you squat, this core is staying upright. You can't really lean forward if you take a big breath in. That helps you sit your squat into a lot better position. We go down to the bottom, we pause for a slight second so we're not bouncing, and then we drive back up. On the way up, when you get to about 3/4, you can blow that air out, and therefore you have held good core, strong stability through that area, including your spine. Okay, I'm going to leave you with the picture of the baby because it is my favourite squatting picture. If you have any questions about any of this or want to try it, develop it, improve it, please feel free to reach out to myself or one of the coaches when you're in the room, and we'd love to show you a little bit more about squatting. Okay, thanks ever so much for listening. Bye bye.